Guys, Diddy is hit with a new indictment charge. I repeat, Diddy is hit with a new indictment charge. Now, it says Diddy hit with a revised indictment from prosecution. And this came out today, January 30th, 2025, 7:08 p.m. It says U.S. Department of Justice attorneys specify what they are adding to the case. So let's see what they're adding to this case. Okay. It said from federal prosecutors in the Sean Diddy Combs case plan to seek life imprisonment. It says the U.S. Department of Justice aimed to straighten the indictment against the founder of Bad Boy Records by adding new allegations to the existing charges. It says court documents obtained by Deadline shows prosecutor have added new victims to Ali record-tearing conspiracy, claiming Combs forced them into pay sex acts through threats of violence. While no new charges was filed, Deadline reports that 2 additional victims have been added to the New York case. Diddy was indicted and arrested in September 2024 and remains in the Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn, New York. The trial is set for May 2025. So it says a U.S. attorney lists revised charges. It says the U.S. attorney, it says Danielle addressed the court Thursday. The government respectfully submit this letter regarding the indictment returned today and above referenced the case by a grand jury set in this district. The indictment, as set before, the indictment contained no new charges or offense, but include additional allegations in count 1. The charges racketeering, conspiracy, and specify certain victims to court 1 and 3. So it says the government also have already produced the majority of discovery associated with the first indictment and does not expect the first indictment to affect existing the pretrial deadline. The government respectfully requests that the defendant be arraigned on the first indictment at the next scheduled court conference. How you guys doing? It says here the revised indictment now includes the victim number 2, victim number 3, and the prosecution charge, and prosecutors charged the racketeering timeline to begin in 2004 instead of 2008. So, you gotta remember, these people got to February 28th, they got to a file. So this new indictment charge is really, man, more allegations. So there's more allegation Diddy's being hit with. Okay, let's see what ABC have 3 hours ago. It says Sean Diddy Combs hit with a new indictment in sex trafficking case. It says Sean Diddy abused, threatened, and coerced women, others around him to fulfill his sexual desires over a long period of time Then first outlet did, which says federal prosecutors in New York says an indictment filed it Thursday. The indictment contains new charges, crimes, but include additional conduct as part of racketeering conspiracy. But prosecutor now says spanning it a long time frame, about 20 years from 2004 to 2024. Prosecution also addition victims of Combs sexual traffic. The superside indictment says Combs assaulted not only women but also his employees, witnesses to his abuse, and others. So it says Combs kicking, dragging, and throwing a vase at his then girlfriend Cassidy Ventura inside a Los Angeles hotel. The indictment says Combs, with the assistance of several close associates, paid hotel security staff $100,000 for the footage. Wow. It says the indictment says Combs used force, coercion, and threats to cause at least 3 female victims, identified only by number, to engage in commercial sex acts. Says something he refers to as freak off, but others involve only Combs and a female victims, according to the indictment. It says, like the freak offs, these commercial sex acts involving Combs and a female victim was prearranged, sometimes last multiple days, was sometimes electronically recorded by Combs, and often involved Combs distributing a variety of controlled substance to the victims, in part to keep the victims obey and complaint, the new indictment says. So we know that Diddy drugged his victims. And it says Combs did not immediately respond to a new indictment, but had previously pleaded not guilty to racketeering, conspiracy, sex trafficking. Prosecution charge is scheduled for trial on May 5th. Prosecution said the new indictment should not affect the timing of the trial. So they got enough evidence on Diddy. So if Diddy asking for extra paperwork from the feds, you know, this was a Fed RICO indictment case. Homeland Security picked this case up. Now they got enough evidence for a conviction, you guys. This is why they got a new indictment. And like I said, you guys, it's over for Diddy, man. This is it, man. It says here, it says the latest indictment contains no new offense. The prosecution theory remain flawed. The governments have added the ridiculous theory that 2 of Mr. Combs' former girlfriends was not girlfriends at all, but was prostitutes. Mr. Combs is committed as ever to fighting these charges and winning at trial. Defense attorney Markle says in a statement to NBC News. Wow. So it said the prosecution theory remained flawless. The government have added the theory of 2 of Mr. Combs' former girlfriends was not girlfriends at all, but was prostitutes. So basically, I don't really think that, since this was not Diddy's former girlfriends, but there was prostitutes. So, in other words, I don't know if any charge is going to be filed for these new offenses, but I want you guys to listen to this video for a second. Let's play this video for a second.
Holding my head up high and my shoulders back. D Woods is still actively performing,
Let's roll this video back.
It comes to hip hop.
Let's see what this is saying for a second, you guys.
Woods is opening up about what it was like working for Sean Diddy Combs. In a new investigation discovery docuseries, D Woods claims Combs created an abusive work environment. It comes to the hip-hop mogul is in jail on sex trafficking and racketeering charges. ABC's Eva Pilgrim sat down with D Woods for this ABC News exclusive.
With music mogul Sean Diddy Combs' criminal trial just months away,
that's what I'm talking about. Y'all did a great job today, ladies.
Some of those who worked closely with the hitmaker describing for the first time their experiences. D Woods shot to fame as 1/5 of the chart-topping girl group Danity Kane after starring on MTV's popular reality show, Making the Band 3.
The day we were chosen, I was like, it's Bad Boy for life, baby.
She says what should have been a dream come true quickly became something else, alleging Diddy created a verbally abusive work environment.
I'm curious why you decided to speak up now. I would say that this moment now is a time where I feel like my experience, my truth will really be heard and actually considered and believed.
D Woods sharing her story as part of a new investigation discovery docuseries, The Fall of Diddy.
From the outside, he was this mogul. He was this guy who, could make your dreams come true.
Unsettling scenes like this, a reminder of what it was like on Making the Band.
Juanita, what's your stomach looking like? For real, are you feeling a little thick?
I always feel thick next to these skinny chicks.
You're like a burger away.
He did it in different ways with all of us. Picking and prodding and just a way to chip and knock away. But then, praise you. I see myself standing in those dark, scary, predatory spaces and hearing somebody say some of the most degrading things to me. How was it predatory? Somebody constantly treating you like a piece of meat. Only valuing you for your sex appeal. And in some of the environments, it was even scary to be by yourself.
Despite turmoil on and off camera, Danity Kane debuted to massive success. But that momentum came to a screeching halt when Diddy fired Aubrey O'Day and D Woods.
Based on a lot of things that I've heard, you're not really a happy camper in this situation.
No, I don't think anyone has been happy for a long time in this situation.
Okay, so you can go too.
Are you sure about
I'm
that?
positive about that.
In the docuseries, D Woods claims she saw what she says were inappropriate communications from...
Now, it says the latest indictment contains new offensive. The prosecution theory remains flawed. The governments have added a theory that two of Mr. Combs' former girlfriends was not girlfriends at all, but was prostitutes. So Diddy may have a strong claim on this one. That Combs' former girlfriend was not girlfriends at all, but prostitutes. So let's see if they can argue that this can be consensual. But it says here, Mr. Combs is committed as ever to fighting these charges and winning at trial, defense attorney Mark says in a statement to NBC News. Look, man. There was no new charges filed in this case. So it says here, the last month, Combs abandoned attempts to be released on bail. Combs had been held at the Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn since he was arrested in September. since he was arrested in September, excuse me. Now, prosecution add 2 more victims to Diddy Combs' federal indictment. It says Sean Diddy Combs is accused of dragging a person over an apartment balcony and coercing 2 additional women into commercial sex acts. In an expanding indictment, federal prosecution filed against him Thursday. This indictment is expanding. So it's expanding. It's a lot of witnesses, you guys. Multiple witnesses in this case. Remember, when Tony Buzzy got the calls on the hotline, there was 3,000 calls on the hotline. So we don't know how many victims there are in this RICO indictment. Says here, it says Combs has been indicted in September. It says in the Southern District of New York in September on charges of sexual traffic, racketeering, and transportation to engage in prostitution. The new indictment does not add charges to his case, but add 2 more victims to the charge of transportation to engage in prosecution. So it says the new indictment does not add charge to this case, but add 2 more victims to the charge of transportation to engage in prostitution. Now, the 2 witnesses that came forward, there was not Diddy's former girlfriends, but there was prostitutes. So I believe that they're going to argue saying that there was coercion and forced to prostitution. So this is why what Diddy's being allegedly accused of in this new indictment is the transportation to engage in prostitution. So he's going to have to prove that there was no transportation, that he was not doing no transportation to engage in this prostitution. So why the new indictment came about, I think the feds went to Canada. I think they traveled into Canada or out of the country to see who is involved of this freak-offs. Was they being coerced? Of what Diddy doing the interstate sex trafficking? That's the question. Was he doing the interstate sex trafficking? This in this statement, it says here, it says Combs was indicted in the Southern District of New York in September on charges of sexual traffic, racketeering, and transportation to engage in prostitution. It says the new indictment does not add charges to this case, but add 2 more victims to the charge of transportation to engage in prostitution. So I'm quite sure that the feds, contact these females. So let me back up, because it says something that Diddy was being accused of. It says dragging a person over apartment balcony and coercing 2 additional women into commercial sex acts, and expand an indictment of federal prosecution filed against him on Thursday. Okay, that's that. Now, okay. Okay, it says prosecution also have expanded the timeline in detail regarding the method with Combs committed the crimes he charged with, while the first indictment says the period of racketeering conspiracy date back to 2008. The new filing says it date back 4 years early. The indictment expands the kidnapping charge to include violation of both California and New York laws. So I think I think what they trying to do is get Diddy. I think Diddy did an interstate, you know, transportation of engaging in prostitution. So I think this was like, I think he did an interstate. This is why he hired male workers, you know what I mean, these sex workers and things. So yeah, it says here. The indictment expands the kidnapping charge to include violation of both California and New York laws. It says it also adds two more substances and methamphetamine and Combs racketeering activities involved in narcotics. So you can imagine that, man. He coerced his victims, man. There was a lot of drugs involved in these freak off parties, man. Look, man. One thing I know, man, when you throw a party, man, a party ain't a party when you throw one. Alcohol, weed, coke, speed. You know, I guess they got that new mushroom bar that you know what I mean, they like. You know, so right now they got new indictment charges on Diddy. You know, they got two more women coming forward, and report shows that these was not Diddy's former girlfriends nor girlfriends, but was prostitutes. So I think that what they did was, I think there was a lot of calls. It was 3,000 calls on Tony Buzzy hotline. So they got the calls, and there was a lot of people coming. You know, so I think Diddy is going to be charged with this, you know, transportation of engaging in prostitution, because I think there was people that was being transferred into Diddy's home from one home to another home, and you know, I believe there was a lot of coercion. There was a lot of soliciting. You know what I mean? A lot of trafficking. So this is why they charge him with the sex trafficking. So yeah, I think that there's a count on each of these charges that they have witnesses. So this is not looking good, you guys. It's really not looking good for Diddy, because they got witnesses on each of these counts. So it's not looking good. This I'm gonna read from over here. It says, Mark, one of Combs' attorneys, says in a statement, the prosecution theory remains flawed. Government have added a theory that two of Mr. Combs' former girlfriend was not girlfriends at all, but was prostitutes. So Mr. Combs also committed as ever to fighting these charges and winning at trial. Let's see here. Combs have denied all allegations against him to date, which includes the federal criminal case and more than 30 civil lawsuits filed against him. He's been in federal custody since September at the Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn, New York. Combs' trial scheduled to begin in May. Now, look, man. Look, y'all. Man, if he gets off, man, it's gonna be, man. But you got 30 lawsuits that filed. So, man, it seemed like it's gonna be very interesting to see, because you gotta remember where there was 3,000 calls made on the hotline. And Tony Buzzy subpoenaed over 300 witnesses. You know what I mean? At first it went from 120 to 300. Now, the question I want to ask, fam, how many witnesses there are? How many victims I remember it's supposed to be 50 victims that came forward. So how many victims in this case, man? That's what we got to say. How many victims is going to be in this case? Is Diddy going to get off? Is Diddy going to get a chance to win this trial? Just think about it. There's still 30 30 victims that's in a lawsuit. So and then not just that, man, he got another additional charge that he's being charged with. There's two other women that they said that was not former girlfriends of Diddy, but was prostitutes. I think in this case, really, I think the feds got enough evidence for the conviction. That's why they told Diddy, you can have those papers, because they got enough evidence for a conviction, man. And they got witnesses, there on each account. His racketeering, his coercion, and supposedly his transportation of engaging in prostitution. Guys, it's not looking good for him, man. And his trial will be set May 5th, 2025. So this is all, more additional charges of these allegations. So you guys, I'll be back with another video. Till then, I'm out.